Shabbat Shalom. There's a book called The Jew in a Lotus. Great book. And it's a book about a Jewish journalist, spiritual seeker, who joins a party of rabbis and other Jewish leaders who are headed to Dharamsala, which is a seat of the Tibetan government in exile in India. And so this group of rabbis and of Jewish leaders meet with the Dalai Lama, and they talk about how did Jews survive the exile and what is Judaism, and it was a formal meeting of faith. But really this book is about the journey of this one journalist who's covering this amazing happening. And he was someone who grew up in a suburban shul and had not found all of the answers that he was looking for about life, about God, and had turned to other Eastern traditions. And here he was flying to India with Reb Zalman Schachter Shalomi, one of the leading Kabbalists and spiritual teachers of Judaism, the founder of the Renewal Movement, and Rabbi Yitzhak Greenberg, who is an incredibly interesting and influential philosopher and thinker, still is. And so he chronicles this meeting with the Dalai Lama and these Tibetan other lamas as they talk about Judaism. And through this process, the journalist discovers how much Judaism does have to offer, how profound the teachings and insights are, and he rediscovers his faith and identity. And there are many wonderful moments in the book. There's one where Reb Zalman is talking to the Dalai Lama, trying to explain to him what happened in Mount Sinai, and the Dalai Lama is not understanding what's happening, what it was about. And he said, well, God said you're going to be a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. And the Dalai Lama said, a nation of bodhisattvas, now I understand. Which is the Buddhist term for a being who gives up their own redemption and chooses to be reborn over and over again just for the benefit of other people. And the journalist refines his life and refines spirit and his Judaism, and it really becomes a story about struggling with faith and struggling with our own faith and struggling with our history and where we come from and struggling with our people, and about the Jewish thirst for knowledge, for wisdom, for understanding, and our struggling with the struggling. And some other philosophies in the world, you're handed a list. This is what you believe, and you're in. For us, there's no list. You just are given a mode of being, of searching and of continuing to struggle and to wrestle to find the answers. As we find in our Parsha this morning, our very name, Israel, the name for the Jewish people, Yisrael, comes from the story where Jacob wrestles with an angel, wrestles with God. Yisrael meaning wrestled with God. Right in the Parsha, Jacob is all alone and he's fearful of his brother's revenge, and he doesn't know what's going to happen, and he divides his camp in two in case disaster strikes, and he's left all alone. And when he's left all alone, he's attacked by an Ish, a man whom we find out is really a divine being, an angel. And he wrestles all night, and he wrestles with his doubts, and he wrestles with his fears and his insecurities and his faith and his existential loneliness. But he comes out in the morning triumphant, and he is transformed, and he's given that name Israel, the name that becomes our name. So this is then who we are. We're the wrestlers. And why do we wrestle? We wrestle because we have a thirst within us, within those who are born to our faith or those who choose our faith, to better understand the world and to better understand life, the physical world and the spiritual world. And we keep wrestling with our understanding of what this world is about, physics, chemistry, medicine, trying to push the limits of what we understand and what it all means. Because we don't accept that we've reached the end of limits, that there's any limit to our knowledge, that there's always new ways to understand how our body interacts with our minds, how it all links together, what it means to be alive. And we wrestle with our understanding of the spiritual life that's out there. It's not enough to just think, well, there's a earth and a heaven, but we want to understand more. What is it like? How does it exist? What is it all about? We keep wanting to go deeper. And in the Zohar, when they describe the first Jew, Abraham, he's not only a philosopher who asks, who created the world and intuits God, but he's also a Kabbalist who uses his spiritual skills to feel out ever further the world around him. The spiritual horizons are expanded until one day Abraham, it says in the Zohar, perceives the far off in the distance is the Holy Land, the Promised Land, and he can feel how sacred it is. And just then he receives God's command to leave everything he knows to go seek out and continue his search there. We also continue our search from inner place to inner place, keep trying to open our minds more and to grow and become more fully who we are, in touch with our truest self and with the divine. And yes, we also wrestle with our faith, because we do not accept just blind faith. We keep asking and we keep checking, because we are witnesses to history and we've seen our share of suffering in the world, affecting us and affecting other human beings. And we're witnesses to the small miracles, the small moments when the larger plan is revealed to us. And we realize there's more to all of it than sometimes meets the eye. There is a great web of life beyond our own, full of mystery and power. And we also remember the greater moments of miracles, of redemption, leaving Egypt, Israel, and we wrestle to reveal it ever more. And then there are those times where we see the hardship and we see the suffering in our very world, and we have the chutzpah, maybe only Jews have this way of thinking, of being humanity's witnesses to what God is doing. And we ask God, well, where are you in all of this? And why is it like this? Is this really your world? Can't you change it a little bit? And we wrestle and we struggle with all of it. And we look at our struggling as a Jewish people, our wrestling, and we realize maybe this is what that ancient concept of chosenness means. That we've been chosen to be in the middle of it, to never stop wrestling in the great and beautiful and wondrous dance of life. And when the wrestling becomes too much, we turn like Tevye in Fiddler on the Roof and say, couldn't you choose someone else for a change? And when the wrestling disappears, we keep looking for other places when our thirst is reignited. And we hold on to the belief that as we wrestle with the most profound questions of life, we also will be transformed by them, that our very being will change through the wrestling, that each time will emerge a little bit more compassionate, and a little bit more wise, and a little bit more loving, and a little bit more our truest self. And it's in those moments, our truest moments, where we are clearest in our vision, that we realize that we would choose no other way but this wrestling, because the wrestling opens up endless doors and opportunities. And this is what we share with the world, our wrestling, our thirst, our yearning, our struggling with questions, our redemption, our transformation. Hi and Carol, as you celebrate your anniversary, you who are such deep people who wrestle with the big questions of life and of this world, may you keep every day finding new life and new discoveries and new love and new insights and new gratitude, and keep sharing them with your family and friends and community. We thank you for all you bring to us. Shabbat Shalom.